Kia ora. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Education Perfect and how you can transform your paper assessments into digital assessments. By the end of this video, you'll see an introduction to creating your own custom assessments with tips on automated marking, utilizing our banks of questions, tagging your questions for reporting, or automated and differentiated follow-up work for your students, and tips on running your secure assessments with the tools we have in product. Let's get started. Within Education Perfect, we'll be entirely working within the library today. The library is a space where you can create your own content or customize our existing content. If you're customizing, you may have within the assessment bank or within some of the senior NCA assessment templates, which allow you to already have a pre-created base. Today, I'm going to be converting something from paper to digital, and that's going to require me starting from scratch because I'll be basically copying and pasting from an existing Word document of an assessment. So you've got two places. My content is completely private to you. This is where I recommend having a work in progress or something that you need to keep extremely secure and away from other staff, or they're going to be away from students anyway. Assessments are automatically hidden from students, but if you need to work on it privately, if you need to work on it more collaboratively or you need other staff to access, you can use my school's content. You may wish to add a folder such as what I'm going to do here, assessments. Some people even say do not touch or do not edit. And that can be things like double hidden from students. Students can't even see the folder. It can be pinned or bolded, whatever you need. And within there, you can even create your own subfolders for year levels or topics. So either in my content or my school's content, at the top of the screen, you have a Create New button, and I'm going to create a new exam. The best place to get started is to head to the top right-hand corner and look at your settings. So making sure your assessment has a name, end of topic, yes. And what method are you going to use? What is the output that you want? Are you marking on EP and need to return grades? Do you want it to be points or percentage based? It will by default be in points, which give you a raw score and a number of points, and then convert it to a percentage. You can change the method out of points and percentage into grading, either to NAME or N0 to E8 if you want to do grade school marking. I'm going to do NAME today as an example of how to cluster and group questions that are marked together. But the method I'm going to use can be done for points and can be done for N0 to E8 as well. It's the same steps. Change my grading method. How much time is it? 3 hours. And that doesn't matter if it's 3 hours split over multiple days or 4 hours over a whole week, because in your security settings, you'll be able to lock and unlock and pause and unpause your assessment as well. If you don't do anything, it will default to 60, and you can set a different time later. When you set the assessment and connect it to class and students, you can override that. In your advanced options, I like to unhide question names. I like to name my questions so students can see them, and I want students to be able to see what I've named them. And I will enable a calculator. I think for most science assessments, you probably would. The next thing I like to do on the left-hand side here is lay out some sections and the structure of my exam. Most exams tend to have at the top, instead of questions, it might be things like cover page or information or resources. And most assessments I work with tend to be grouped into 3 overarching questions, such as question 1, question 2, and question 3. If you don't have this, you might even just have that one folder at the top and you put all your questions in there. But the reason I'm going to structure like this is if question 1 is all the questions within are marked together, I want to have finer control over how question 1 is marked. Does it add to a total number of points? Does it add to a whole singular grade? Or does everything within need their own grading as well? You can choose that granularity. So I'm going to look at both options. Your cover page, you may wish to put in a blank slide and pop in something like your school's logo. So you can upload. I'm going to go and pick from a media gallery and just pop in let's see what happens when I bring up the logo. Let's just pop in the Education Perfect logo for today. And then I can drag and drop a text box underneath with year 9 end of topic test assessment instructions. And these are often copied and pasted from your document. I can format it, so I can make this a bit of a heading, center it. And some of your formatting will come across with you when you copy and paste. Some of it will not. If you're having trouble with the formatting or it looks a bit weird, I recommend pasting Control-Shift-V to remove formatting when you copy and paste, so then it comes out a bit fresher and is easy to edit. If you want particular alignments or structure, you may want to insert tables. And if you insert a table, do this, for example, you can do things like merge your cells to give nicer headings. You can also, under your borders, do things like have invisible borders, so you can format and structure things to sit in very particular places, but not have table outline shown as well. Save that. Now there's no question components in here, so this is just going to be a cover page. And hopefully you'll see just next to the cover page where I've got saved, there's a little dash. The question will not be graded. There's no questions in there, so there's no grading attached. Similarly, if I put in any resources, so instead of cover page 2, I might name this such as resource booklet, it might be formula, it might be periodic table, whatever you want, you can put a PDF in there. And I'm pretty sure in our media gallery, we already have a periodic table, so I'll use that as an example. But you can embed PDFs in there if you've got your own predetermined resource booklets as well. Again, this will not be graded because there's no question components, but I have a section at the top just for resources for students, and they can see resource booklet cover page, so they can see that information. When it comes to question 1, I can now go and add my question, grab a blank slide, copy and paste my text, put on any images. I can also embed images within the question. So find a quick picture of a bird. If bird is too big, very lovely picture, but maybe I just want to make it much, much smaller. There we go. I have a nice picture of a bird in there. Identify the adaptation of this bird and explain how it's in survival. So it's a very generic question, but gives you an example of what you might be copying and pasting in there, how I'm editing it, formatting it. I can do things like move it around and make it look the way I want. Use tables. You can also do things like drag and drop your images to the side, above and below if you want to do it that way. You can also pop in annotated text, PDFs. You can embed in and put in video-based questions or audio-based questions. And then once you're ready for your students to answer, if you want your questions to be auto-marked or have partial auto-marking in there, you can pop in multi-choice. If you want to be closed style, you can do fill in the gaps, text boxes, pop in options, get them to annotate text themselves, or highlight passages of text to help aid in if you've got very short, sharp questions to begin with. So filling in the gaps can be a good way to show some auto marking. And say this is much longer text, just to save on time. The part that I want to turn into auto marking or turn it into close or fill in a text box, if I want them to make it a bit more challenging, maybe I want it to be a sharp beak. Alternative correct answers you can pop in there, but also distractors so students aren't just guessing the right answers. So they have to pop in the correct answer. It could be question 1A if I want to follow a naming convention. And all of the questions will if this a lightning bolt will show that it will be automatically marked, and it will be automatically marked as an achieved question. If this question is not worth achieved, I can go down the bottom of the question slide and change it to is it achieved merit or excellence? Is it N0 up to E8? Like what's the range? Or if it's a points-based question, how many points is this question worth? If I need to switch it off automatic into manual marking, I can press that button to the left there to switch it. And you'll see here analysis tags. Analysis tags will be a way of tagging this question to what skill does it tackle or what level. So how do I want it to report on the end? So tags can be for reporting purposes, such as NZC 4. So I might tag this. This is a curriculum level 4 question, for example. So I want to know at the end which questions the students, how did they go with answering questions at the levels 3, 4, 5. I could tag it as achieve merit excellence. So it is already identified as an achieved question, so that was probably a bit doubling up. But I can also do tags that are linked to content, and this will help turn this assessment into creating the follow-up with differentiated work. So it could be an adaptations question, and I want to select content from the EP library where students, if they struggled with adaptations at the end, I can grab the right kind of adaptations work. So it might be adaptations here. Grab a few at each level. You can customize which levels you want your adaptations work. Adaptations in shape and form, and introduction. And you can get a bit more specific here. You might want to go, actually, I wanted adaptations NZC. I wanted adaptations level 4, adaptations level 3, 5. So then it really picks the right content for the right question. So maybe I just remove some of that really high level stuff. Adaptations level 3, make this really basic. You can see I'm adding as many or as few tags as I want. It takes a little bit of time, as you can see here, for me to set it up, but I get to reuse these tags again and again. So I'm going to just put in a little bit of time, and it's going to save me a lot of time later when my students get work afterwards. They're going to get exactly the right amount of work they need based on the questions they didn't really succeed with and needed a bit of extra work in. And it reports to me exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are, as well as creating that differentiated work for them. So I'm going to save this tagged question. Don't forget to periodically save at the top there. And after 1A, maybe I want to go and now add question 1B. This might be a bit more open-ended. So it might be a discuss how this animal is, fits within that environment. So I'm being very unspecific here, just to try to keep it pretty generic. It comes up when I type in environment. No. It would help if I spelled it correctly. Grab that one with the one there because that's actually quite cute. Make it half the size and pop it in there. Put it in the middle. And this is a discuss question. So this is going to be a much more open-ended, high-level question. There's lots of potential answers. So this is going to be one of our extended response questions where students draw, calculate, record their answer, upload their own work externally, or pop in a written long answer. This will, when you pop in drag and drop, if I just click done, it just leaves an empty box for them to write. But instead of clicking done, in here, I can pop in a model answer, which will help for marking. Students don't see the model answer until the assessment is submitted, marked, and then returned to them, and only if you allow them to see it. But the model answer can be really good for guiding your marking. So you might have evidence that you pop in here. And if you've got Boomer, have yellow here, If you have keywords, and it might be yellow fur, it might be for camouflage or for, helping, keep them warm, things like that. You can identify keywords that students have used that are key evidence, which will be highlighted. So when it's marked, it will automatically highlight if the students have used that keyword. If you want students to write a certain amount, under the model answer, if I collapse it down, you also have prompt text that allows you to put in tables that students fill in, sentence starters, scaffolding, so you can start to put in things like you want them to write 3 things, you can put in a 1, 2, 3 list, and that will help. And if you want students to write a certain amount, you can add an answer expectation. How much do students need to write? Do you want them to write at least 3 sentences? Do you want them to write between 30 to 50 words? And it will put in a live word count there as well. And at the top, you've got the question tab here. If you want to pop in a more deeper explanation, you can put in things like the criteria for Achieve Merit Excellence. So you've got the evidence in your model answer, but then you have the rubric for marking Achieve Merit Excellence in here in your explanation. And this can be embedded in as a PDF. It can be put in as an image. Sometimes I screenshotted them, or you can just copy and paste it in there as well. Yeah, just drag and drop that so it's down there. So here I've got my auto-marked question 1A. It's an achieve question. Question 1B, it's not auto-marked. I have to mark it manually because it's open-ended. It's identified as being achieved, but really this is a discuss question, so I need to change it to excellence. And I can still pop in those tags. And when I click add tag, it brings up the ones that I've already got. This is still an adaptations question, it's a bit high level. Maybe I'll reuse that level 4 tag, but maybe I want to add a new one. Now maybe it's much higher level. Maybe it is still 4, it's still 5. You can still tag it with whichever skill, curriculum level reporting that you want it to be as well. Make sure I save as I go. And so this is within question 1, I've got broken down gradings, individual grades to each question, but something that commonly happens with collective assessments or with grade score marking is what you actually have is a collection of questions which all have 1 grade. So what I'm going to do here, just to save a bit of time, I'm just going to make a copy of these exact same questions. Just to create 2A and 2B and save us a bit of time. Here. Copy that. You can see if you set up something, you can then pretty quickly copy and use things for templates. Just watch you don't carry through any errors or don't, forget to update things as you go if you're copying and using copies. So this time, maybe I need to mark in question 2, or as I'm going in each question section, they actually all marked together. What I do, instead of clicking on the question slide and adjusting the rules for that individual question, if you click on the overall section, the heading, the folder at the top, question 2 up here, which contains 2 questions, what I can do is down the bottom, I can adjust the analysis tags for everything contained within. Everything in here might be set at curriculum level 4. Everything in there might be adaptations. And you can start to, rather than to get more granular, you can be broadly, everything in this folder is at this level and contains this content. And then specifically, you can go within those questions and add more specific tags as well. So you can be broader and particular. But more importantly, if I need to mark all these questions together to give me 1 single grade, I can go assign the same grade to all questions in the section by assigning the grade. And everything in here, so these were our auto marking. We don't want auto marking, but everything in here could go up to excellence, and I want to mark them as a section. So now question 2, the grades have moved off the individual questions and moved up to the top, and the group altogether 2A and 2B will collectively be asked to give 1 grade, not achieved, achieved merit excellence. Similar with N0 to E8, or if you have a number of points, how many points is everything collectively worth? This can be really good, not just if you have collective marking and marking everything as a group, but if you have questions where you have a planning and a drafting section and you want students to do it, but not necessarily be marked on the planning and drafting, just to be marked on the final piece of work, you can put your planning, your drafting, and your final piece and mark them all together to note that students do need to probably do those planning and those drafting sections, but the mark really comes from the actual piece of work provided afterwards. So we've got our two types of marking in there, individual, collective. Everything has got some tags in it, whether it's tagged to content or just for reporting. We're going to head out of our exam here. Here it is. At any point, you can preview it. You can go back and edit, of course, but you can preview it just to test out what it looks like for you. This will be a little more stripped back than what it looks like for your students. If you want to test it as though you were a student, you can go to the top and go view as student, and that will put you in the testing environment like you were a student. You can test out how the questions work and check the answers and view the answers. Keep in mind, this view is a teacher preview. Students do not see the check answer button. Students do not see the question answer button at the top. This is for teacher testing. So please keep that in mind. This is just for you to test that the questions work as intended. So it doesn't replicate exactly what students see. If you want to see exactly what students see, you go view as student, and then you can see what they do and don't see and how it looks different to yours. So that's one thing. If you're worried about, well, students are going to check their answer. No. When you view a student, you'll see that they get the extra functionality in terms of text to speech and the basic calculator, but they lose the ability to see, view, or check any answers as well. And the last bits, once you're ready to go, you can assign it. Now, keep in mind, once you assign it and attach it to students, or you input student data, the assessment is locked for editing. You can't edit an assessment once a student is attached to it. So a hint for getting around that is you might want to keep this as a master copy, and you may wish to make a copy and preface it with the year level to show this is the one that's going to be assigned out to students. So I have this one, which is editable. Maybe I want to keep this for year on year or make changes, especially if something goes wrong during testing and I need to make adjustments. And then you might just want a separated copy from the master that doesn't get locked. So you've got this one, which doesn't get locked. You can keep editing it. This one, which gets attached to students and assigned. And that way, if it gets locked for editing, you've still got a copy that's fresh. Once assigned, you'll get your classes or all classes within the school if it's a cohort-based assessment, and you can attach it to your students. Set your dates. Maybe I'm going to be assigning it next week. Choose if students have a time limit or not, so you can overwrite it. And you can change the assessment name, add assessment-specific instructions. And I tagged it with follow-up content, so I can tell that content to be automatically assigned, be limited to a certain amount per student, or turned off if not required. In the options, I can choose, do students need multiple attempts at this assessment? Do they need an access code? It's manually marking, so who's going to be marking it? Usually the teacher, but sometimes you set revision assessments and you want students to revise and practice, so you might get them to mark it. And you can choose some of those tools as well. Once it is assigned, you will then also get your monitoring section where you can monitor the progress of your students live. You can lock and unlock the assessments. If you've got a time limit, you can extend or change the time limit. And if you've got multiple classes, you can filter and choose which student classes are being monitored at which time. The responses section, when its attempts are submitted, not open, students have to have completed and submitted their work. So if they're not good at that, you can actually submit it for them back under monitor, or when their time runs out, or auto submits. And then in here, you get the option to mark. If you've been testing it out under the view as student and you submit it, you can include teacher results to practice marking. And that can be a way to get everyone used to practicing marking on EP. And then once you get all of your students' results marked. If you're marking with an EP, it will generate a report, and those tags that you reported on will start to populate in here, along with the scores, the percentages, and all the other sort of information. How long did each student spend in the assessment? Strengths, weaknesses, what were they recommended afterwards as well? So you get a really rich and detailed report, depending on also how detailed and rich your tagging or your structure was when you set up the assessment. So that is a pretty in-depth rundown of taking your paper and converting into digital. Hopefully this sparks some ideas of how you can really make the most of using a digital platform to provide a lot more insights and some automation outside of just converting paper and copying, pasting into digital the same, but actually then elevating it and doing things that you couldn't normally do with paper as well. Thank you for your time and attention today on converting your paper assessments into digital assessments on Education Perfect. We're here helping you help every student make progress.